You're listening to Podcasting for Experts, with honest conversations about using podcasting as a tool to grow your reach, increase your audience, make a positive impact on the world, and most importantly, to get paid for your efforts. I'm your host, Jess, and we are Pristine Podcasts. Let's talk podcasting. Hey, and welcome back. This is Jess, co-founder here at Pristine Podcasts, and we're back with Season 2, Episode 10 of Podcasting for Experts. And today, I'm talking to Eran Bucai of .com Truths. Eran is on a bit of a mission to clear up some of those bro marketing tactics that, tell you have to do all the things and you need all the high-ticket offers and you need to be doing a gazillion in sales, otherwise you can't have a successful business. And I guess that's what I like about him so much, because he's such an authentic guy and he just takes all of the things right back to basics. So today we dive into the topic of marketing in general, because I know that lots of you listening love doing the podcast, but you don't like having to go out there and spread the word about it once you've done all the recording and editing. And that is what we want to talk about today. And I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, Eran, thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with me today, particularly seeing that it's actually 11 p.m. over there, which I totally did not realize. So I want to say that ahead of time. I always say thanks a lot when people take the time to come on, be it early in the morning. I talked to someone at like 5 a.m. their time the other day, and it's always interesting where everyone's located. So thanks for doing that. People will really appreciate that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
The reason why I wanted to chat is because you shared a lot of things to do with online business and online marketing in general, which I think is very important for our audience who are mainly podcasters to learn more about. So my background's a bit similar to that. And a lot of the things that you've been sharing in your content, like the foundations that people need to understand when they're getting started online. That's the general feeling that I'm getting. And it is not just the kind of hyped strategies that I see a lot. So what I see a lot at the moment is that people are falling into, I read this thing that I have to do this hyped strategy, insert whatever hyped strategy it is. And if I don't do that thing, then there's no way my podcast is going to grow. I'm not going to get an audience. I'm not going to be able to build a community. No one is going to hire me as a service provider. And that is the thing that I think I really appreciate in the online space. So that's what I want to say from the get-go, is that I appreciate the back to basics, the real stuff that actually works. And I've started with everyone at the beginning. And you mentioned that the first couple of years when you were getting started online, things weren't really all that straightforward for you. And I've had a similar experience. So I would love to know, how did you experience that?
Totally. So I think in the context of, podcasters and so on, the shift for me of 2 years of not quite going the way it should go or whatever, and success to me was really learning by observation, right? And, we're talking about podcasters and stuff like that. I can tell you that probably in the last 3-4 months, I've been a little bit more heavy on trying to get myself on podcasts as well, to get into that world, because I've not done a lot of that. And I've learned so much just trying to get on other people's podcasts, because I see how you run your podcast, how organized it is. I get a little sheet before and an explainer and how to do this, how to do that. And it's just very eye-opening. And I learned so much. Just forget this interview, just getting on the podcast, just the whole process. I learned a ton from that. And there's other podcasts I've been booked into recently, and you could see the organization is maybe not as good, and then others are really good. And some of them make it really easy to get on, and some of them make it a little bit more complicated. And to me, the shift was learning by observation, really taking the time to see different perspectives, how are other people doing it. And the point about the hype that you mentioned is, it's not about, okay, this person has this and that's the only way. Probably many people have something that is actually really good, right? And then others that don't have something so good, right? Like there were some things about your onboarding, for example, on getting me on, that I didn't see in someone else's. And I thought this was a really good thing to point out, right? It's just different things and paying attention to what's really going on and not listening so much to the hype, but actually observing. Stop listening to webinars and observe how the webinars are being marketed to you, as opposed to, then you actually can take on a lot more, and you're no longer doing it from a consumer standpoint. And I think that's probably the big thing for me, because the first 2 years I actually made money. I actually made over 100 grand. So it's not even that it was bad money wise, but I did not build a business. So it was more like a pyramid, really, to be honest. It was closer to a pyramid than a business. And that's why I said the first 2 years were just not the right way, because after a year and a half, the whole thing disappeared. The company that I was promoting got closed down, and I was left with nothing. And I barely had an email list. I didn't really focus on building an email list. I was just building someone else's business, and that business was closed. Now I have nothing. So, and to me, my first 2 years of failure was actually relatively good compared to other people who usually make nothing. Right?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I didn't have the terrible 2 years where I could say I didn't make any money, but I had to work. I was a service provider, so I had to work so many hours to make that money that at the end of 2 years, it was like setting myself on fire. And I was like, this is not sustainable and I can't grow it. And then I had the same experience where around a similar time period, I got pregnant and I couldn't work. I started throwing up all over the place. It was nonstop and I couldn't work.
Wow.
And suddenly I noticed that I was sitting on the same thing. It's like, it was almost an upside down pyramid, to be honest, where I'm the only piece that's actually keeping it straight. And that also kind of overnight disappeared. So I know how scary that is when you're like, shoot, all this effort and now what?
Yeah, exactly. So to me, the shift is really the consumer versus the producer, and just like stepping back from the hype and be like, okay, what's really going on in the marketplace? What problems people actually have and how can I help solve it? And where can I fit in the marketplace where I can actually provide value in a way I can charge enough money to justify my time. I can be profitable, right? And I think that was pretty much the biggest shift. And it was about a year and a half from when I started online to the point where the company was closed down. And I worked really hard as well. So when they got closed, I was like, something really wrong here, because I shouldn't be in debt, after making 100 grand, because I paid for a lot of high ticket courses and coaching with them and masterminds and all that and advertising. And when I started that business, I had no debt. I wasn't making any money either, right? I was on the unemployment benefit and I was looking for a way to make money, period. But I had no debt. And by the time I finished, a year and a half later, worked my butt off, I had $55,000 in debt.
Oh, shit.
And no business. And I'm like, hang on. I didn't gamble my money. I didn't waste it. I don't party. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I work all the time. What the hell, And that's when it hit me. There is something wrong with the industry. It was probably very easy for somebody in my shoes to feel like they did something wrong and it's their fault. But I just refused to. I mean, am I responsible? Well, we're always responsible. Okay. There's no question about that. But does that mean that we are in the wrong? Well, that's a very different story to being responsible, right? So I knew I was responsible, but then my responsibility was figure out what the hell was wrong with the whole scenario. Because let me tell you, there was no lack of effort on my part to do what I felt, what I was being taught. I was implementing, I was trying what I was being taught. But for some reason, it ended me on the wrong path. And that's when I kind of started to really question what's going on online and do things differently. So there you go.
I think taking a step back and watching what's happening is probably the most intelligent thing that you can do, because we're bombarded 24/7, literally, by come and sign up for this to learn how to do that. Come and hear, and like you mentioned, the webinar, if I have to hear one more of the 3 secrets, how to, I'm like, I am so done with being told your 3 sales pitches and whatever. But, I work with clients that have customers in other areas, like they have children and they're trying to sell them baby products and courses, and they're very valuable products. And it is actually a method that works extremely well to sell to the customer. So I don't specifically have a problem with learning about, marketing techniques that work. And I think they're very important. And that's one thing that I know podcasters struggle with, is marketing. It's one of those things where you can have the best show in the world, but if nobody knows you exist, no one's going to listen. And that's part of the problem. So I don't think there's anything wrong with learning these techniques, but I think it's a very slippery slope to get hooked in by one person, be it whatever guru, pick a guru, you're going to come across them at some point, and then you'll get hooked in, and then you're in the first webinar, and then you enter the 297 program, the 997 program, the 9997 program. And then before you know it, none of that has potentially paid off, but their sales machine works really well.
Yeah, that's right. It's crazy. It's really the wild, wild west.
Yeah, it is literally, I think the Wild Wild West is a good comparison. So how do we take a step back to assess where to even start? So
totally.
So many of the people who are listening, they have a podcast. A lot of them don't like social media. And I'm not, don't find me online all day, every day. I have actual people in real life that I like to see. So they're online now, they have their podcast, they create some social media accounts, and then, once a week they'll post something, nothing happens. And it's very frustrating because at the end of the day, nothing happens. Eventually, listeners grow slowly over 1 year, 2 years, but there's still not really any major growth. And a lot of it is for a lack of community because these people, they're not really attracting a core group of people.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best way for someone with a podcast to generate that sense of community within their environment?
Yeah. I think because of how things change so fast with social media and different things, just a random example. I mean, I think it was earlier this year, Clubhouse exploded, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't even go on it.
Right? But that exploded. So to some degree, maybe 6 months ago for podcasters, maybe it was better to actually try to do their podcast on Clubhouse for a little bit because that's the platform for audio, right? And actually test some things like that, right? Now, I didn't go on Clubhouse. I found it a waste of time personally, but I don't do audio content so much. So again, it's like you said, you get hooked on one guru, but they're leading you down a path. So that's why I'm very much like, don't listen to exactly how I do it. Take away what you can. I can teach you this specific niche, but I realize that's not necessarily like keep an open mind. So if you're podcasters, I would be like, look, check out Clubhouse because I haven't tried it, but it's the audio platform right now. But it's the hottest. You may get some good options there, right? As an example, now that's just pure testing, right? Then it's like, good, give it a test, try something else. And also, I think that listening to other people's podcasts, there was a tip that I remember watching a YouTube video because I like YouTube, right? And I was watching a YouTuber that I really like. He said something in one of his videos, which I found really helpful. He says, I feel that people who are really good YouTubers, they actually genuinely love YouTube and are obsessed with YouTube. Like he said, I'm a YouTuber. At the time, I think he had 40,000 subscribers. Now he's got like 250 or something. And he said, I live and breathe YouTube. I really do. Like I watch YouTube videos all day and I don't watch it to consume. I watch YouTube channels that I love, I enjoy, and I take away what I can learn. And obviously they benefit because I watch their videos and I click on their ads so they can get their ad revenue and all that. But I'm obsessed with that. So if you're a podcaster and that's really something you're passionate about, I would also be like, okay, what are your top few podcasts? And just dissect what is it about them that you love so much, and then try to integrate that into what you're doing and figure out what works for you. For example, the Marketing Secrets podcast from Marcel Brunson.
Yeah.
I love his intro, right? His intro is so like the elevator pitch of the intro of the podcast. I love that, right? I love the fact that it's very casual and it's really short as well.
Is he still recording it in the car? Or did he stop recording in the car?
He started doing it in the car. I don't think he always does it in the car, but that's how he started. Right?
It came up. I was talking to someone else on an interview a couple of days ago, and she was like, sometimes I'm just so short of time. I feel like I couldn't record. I'm like, you know what? Russell Brunson, it doesn't get bigger as far as, guru for marketing status goes. And sometimes he records it in the car. So if Russell Brunson's allowed to record in the car, I'm sure you are as well. So just say like, I just had an idea, just 10 minutes, I'm going to do it. So whatever works.
I think that's how he started. He was I think it was even called marketing in a car or something. Like there was something with the car. Obviously, he's got a team. He recorded, sends it off to somebody. They do all the editing. That's fine, you know. But the point is that that's a takeaway. Like you just told your client that's a takeaway. Like, okay, somebody started with the car. Try it out, right? I tried to do the 10 minutes thing like he did with just sharing my thoughts daily or something. Hated it. Was bored. I was like, I don't feel like sharing something every day or every week. You know what I mean? I prefer doing it differently. I prefer writing. I like writing better, for example. So I prefer to do Facebook posts, as an example, in my Facebook group or in other people's groups or other people's comment section. And I like emailing my list as well. I email my list once a week. So I like writing better. So again, it's figuring out that style. But for your podcasters, if you like podcasts, get obsessed with it, like really obsessed, you know, and I think that's the best way, right? The beauty of that also is that it also eliminates the need to go pay for a $3,000 podcasting course. You don't need that. Just go listen to all your favorite podcasts and take notes. What do you like about it? What do you not like? Do you like 2 guests? Do you like 3 guests? Do you like the one podcast person? How many ads in between? How much do you like? What's the length of the podcast? What do you like in terms of length, right? Do you like the longer version? Do you like the shorter version? And who are you talking to and what do they prefer, right? So there's so many variables that require testing, right? But if you're obsessed with that topic, then you'll figure that out, right? So
I think lots of people are obsessed with the podcast and with doing the podcast, and they love all the aspects of it. They love the research and they love the recording and they love the editing, and that's where it ends. So that's where I think what you're saying is something that I found to be really important. And it's always my answer. Whenever somebody says, hey, what should I use as my upsell offer? I'm like, I don't know, test it. You know, should we sell it at this price or that? I don't know, test it. Like, we don't know what's going to work until we've actually tried it with your people. And I think what you're saying is so important, and it's to put the marketing hat on now. Because actually the marketing hat, I always say you can have the best recording equipment, you can have the best, you know, sounding room, you can have the best everything. But if at the end of the day, people don't know you exist, it's not going to help. So marketing hat on now. Like the episode is finished, take the time and don't rush it, you know, like leave some extra time afterwards to like put that hat on and test. Now, how do people come up with a plan on how to test?
Yeah. So obviously there's analytics to see how people are actually engaging, how many people you're getting listening. Another thing also I found to be really helpful at the beginning, because you're just getting started, probably not many people are listening at all, but that's okay. And this is something I got from Russell. He says that's the point, to actually practice to find your voice as well. Finding your voice is actually really important too. So the fact that nobody's listening, that's actually an advantage to some degree, because you can just sound like an idiot, you know, and it's okay. It's no big deal. You know, nobody will know about it. But when you're Russell Brunson, if you're going to say something, you know what I mean? Now, well, 1 million people are going to know that you're an idiot. So it's also not so bad to have nobody listening even, you know, like finding your voice is actually more important at first. This is so funny. I have a lot of blogs on my website, and I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I was like, I need to update my blogs. I just went to go look at my blogs, and I just started laughing. I was like, these blogs are so stupid. I mean, they're so stupid. And I thought to myself, you know, it will be painful for me to actually fix every one of them, because I'll feel like I just need to unpublish. And then I thought, you know, I got a better idea. I'm actually going to record a YouTube video at some point, all my dumb blogs summarized, and I'll just do a YouTube video that's really funny and just explain why those blogs are stupid or something like that. Yeah, you know, just take it and flip it around.
It is
anyway.
It's just evidence of growth, right? Like
That's right.
When I started, I was just figuring out the basics of like all this online business tech, and I didn't have all the answers either. I had to look up a lot of different things. And I remember I wrote some stuff and then I was like, oh my God, this sounds so dense. Like I didn't even understand this part properly. Like it's confusing and I'm not sure. Like I feel sorry. I want to apologize. I want to put a note at the top. And it's like, sorry if you try to read this, because like I can do way better than that by now. But it's fine at the end, you know, when your website gets very few visitors, like you said, it doesn't matter. And we often have this thing that we feel as if everyone's watching us. And I keep telling people that actually, honestly, no one gives a shit about what you're doing. And that's amazing because you can stop stressing about what will my boss think if they see this. And most of the time, people actually don't think anything. You know, most of the time they're concerned about their own problems and they don't really care about what you're doing unless you're causing them any more problems. So as long as you don't do that, they don't care. So
that's right.
This testing period, I think it is really important because that's the only way that you can know what's going to work. But the other thing that you've mentioned is the fun aspect.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to do stuff that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Was there any example that you had in your experience where you found that you were doing something because you thought you should? Totally. You didn't enjoy it and then you did something else and that worked like 10 times better for you?
Totally. So in the first 2 years online, for example, there was a thing about doing vlogs. People were doing vlogs, right? Oh. So I did a lot of Instagram vlogs, like a 1-minute vlog. And, you know, it was all about posting content. The whole thing was, you need to post content. You need to post content. You need to post content. You need to be consistent. You need to post content, be consistent. And I was like, okay, no worries. I've got a work ethic. I'll work my freaking butt off. I'll post more. In that year and a half, close to 2 years on Instagram, I did 1,000 posts. Do the math on that for a second. Okay. That's 2 to 3 posts per day. Most of them were videos. Okay. So I did a 1-minute vlog. If you even go to my YouTube channel, you'll still find 250 freaking 1-minute vlogs. 1 minute talking about something. I mean, I just did like a 1 minute. Okay, here's the thing. I feel like talking about blah, and I just do that. And I uploaded so many, right? And sometimes it was great. There was one time which was really good. I did probably like 40 vlogs in 33 days. But I was in an event. I was in Las Vegas at a 10X Growth Conference with Grant Cardone. And after each speaker, I did a 1-minute vlog, or I did 3 vlogs of 1 minute, giving my takeaways on that speaker. So there was 20 speakers. So I did 40 or so little vlogs. And what was funny is a lot of the people that were founding, because I was tagging 10X all day, people in the conference who were there listening to the speeches would go to my Instagram to get the recap of the speeches because I summarized it in 1 minute on my takeaway. And they're like, I actually learned so much from your takeaway versus the speech, you know, because the speech is like an hour. Half of it was a pitch anyway. And I took the one thing that was like, okay, this is what I learned from blah. And I think I increased my Instagram followers by 500 Instagram followers in like 2-3 days from people inside the conference, right? So again, it's, you know, we talked about testing. How do you test? Well, sometimes you don't even expect, like, it's not like I was watching a training video before the conference that says, so
here's
this
how
is
to
what
make
you
the
do.
most
When
of
you
it.
summarize, if you summarize, you're going to get Instagram. Nobody's going to know that. No one is going to be able to teach you that. And the timing of that is impossible. So that's why getting obsessed with also testing, it's really important because you get that. But then 2 years down the track, I remember crossing 1,000 Instagram followers. I was looking at my phone. I was like looking at my phone, and this is my phone. And I'm looking at my number. I'm like, 1,000 posts. And I'm like, how much money did I make from Instagram? Really? Right? And how much time did this sound? And I just did a calculation. And I was like, this is a complete and utter freaking waste of time. Right? Yep. So it was like, okay, I'm done my 2 years ROI test. The ROI is not there. I need to figure something else out.
That's a huge thing. When you get online and you don't know about all this, how are you supposed to know? You don't. You try it out.
Yeah.
And then at some point, when you're 2 years down the line, someone like you says, so Jess, why are you posting on Instagram 3 times a day? Because like, how much money does that make you? And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, yeah, it doesn't make any money. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing things that make money.
That's right.
Yeah, now I got it. You know?
That's right.
It's something we forget about, right? It's the usual busy work. It's like, well, this person says you have to make 3 YouTube videos a week. This person says you should also have a podcast. This person says you need to be on Instagram. This person says you need to be writing blogs. And they, of course, have to be perfectly SEO optimized. And this person says you have to, whoa. Like, you can't be doing all the things at the same time. It's not possible. So
yeah,
if you have all this audio content that is like super high quality that you're making reliably every single week, you can do so much with that, that you don't need to keep creating like new content on every single platform because you burn out. You know, all you want to do is take your audio and distribute it elsewhere. And that's it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if your audio itself doesn't do the job, in the sense that you're not pointing people back to the business that you're promoting, and you're not pointing people back to the book that you're trying to sell, there's now a hole in the chain. So then you can do all the marketing on the front end that you want, but the people will then come to your podcast eventually, but they're not going to buy anything because they don't know there's anything for sale at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we don't have holes somewhere along the way. Hey, are you spending hours extra editing every other week because you forgot to do things like switching off your aircon or moving the dog outside of the house? Did you secure an amazing guest interview only to then forget to press record? Or maybe your guest forgot to press record and now you have to work with a really low quality backup recording? Do you want to batch your show and finally get ahead, but you can't for the life of you remember what's already done and what's not? Don't worry, this is really normal. There are way more steps involved in running a successful, high-quality podcast than meets the eye, and it's really easy to forget something here and there. But let's be realistic. If you really want to grow your show, you can't carry on like this. If you want to design a podcasting workflow that works, then grab our podcast workflow blueprint now. You'll get immediate access to our entire podcast workflow that we've been using with all of our clients for months. The blueprint contains a video training that explains exactly how our system works, the Trello board template that you can just plug into your account or transfer to your platform of choice, the fully customizable template episode workflows, guest email swipes, and as a bonus, the guest booking automation video training. You can check it all out and get your copy at pristinepodcast.com/blueprint. And now, back to the episode. Is there anything anyone's ever shared with you that's become almost a little bit of a mantra when it comes to marketing? Bearing in mind that, so many of the people who start the podcast do it for the podcast, not because they want to be marketing, Some of them, obviously, they have a business that they're passionate about, Some of them are experts in something, or they have a cause that they are after, be it, getting women into emotionally, healed relationships and stuff like that. They have a cause that is way bigger than them. They may have a book that they've written and they want to get the word out. So they are marketing, but they don't want to be marketing. So anything anyone's ever shared with you that you think would encourage people to be more open in that direction?
Yeah, I think there is a negative connotation with marketing and sales to some degree.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be that sleazy guy or that sleazy girl, or that hypey girl. And you don't want to be that salesy dude. Nobody really wants to be that person, really. Most people, I find. And I think you have to take a step back and understand what sales and marketing is all about. I'll tell you what I consider sales and marketing is. Sarah Blakely said something really smart. She's a self-made billionaire who just sold her company, actually, Spanx, for probably a lot of money.
But I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but she's somebody I look up to. And she said, when I first started my business, I focused on 3 things: make it, sell it, build awareness. I think that was the 3 things that she said. And to me, it was just such a good focus point, right? Make something you're proud of. Maybe it's podcast, okay? Sell it, i.e., why should people listen to it? I.e., what's in it for them? That's what selling is all about. It's like you're solving someone else's problem, right? And it's about solving a problem. So I love being sold to because I can tell you, I have a lot of problems that I need people to help me with. Now, if they come to me with a reasonable price and they can actually solve a problem for me, I'd happily pay them. That's not an issue. I don't have a problem getting my problems solved, right? And that's what selling is about. So if somebody tells you, I don't like to be sold, for example, they don't really mean that. They just mean they don't like to be scammed. But if I'm going to come to them and solve them a legitimate problem, then they're going to have no problem paying me, right? So when somebody says, I don't like to sell, it's not really true. What they don't like is they don't like to scam people. Do they love solving people problems? Yeah, of course. Well, that's selling. That's what it's all about. And marketing is just bringing that awareness that somebody has a problem that they need to solve, or that you're the guy that has a solution to the problem they already know they have. depending on what stage of the scale they're in on the awareness scale, right? So
I did an
some
episode
people,
about that last season.
have you?
So
Yeah.
I think it may have been episode 3. I just want to point people in that direction. If they haven't heard of this, I don't want to call it a pipeline, but it's a bit like a pathway, let's say, that people can follow. I think it's episode 3 of season 1, just in case anyone wants to look that up. But we talked about the stages of awareness. And I think it's foundational because you need to know who you're speaking to at what point, because otherwise I could be telling the curtain next to me about the thing that I have. It doesn't care.
That's right. Exactly. For me, I'm obsessed with helping people solve problems. So, and also I learned that you don't have to solve big problems. Sometimes it's the little problems that people love getting solved, right? If I was to have a podcast, I can tell you immediately the problems I want is once I record something, I don't want to have to edit it. I don't want to have to publish it. I don't want to write a description. I want to give it to somebody else to do it for me. I don't want to, you know what I mean? That's just, it's just not what I want to do. Now, that might not be the problem for someone else. They might love that process. That's cool. There is a market for everything, right? And you just got to figure out where do you fit in the marketplace, basically.
Yeah. And I think that importance of solving problems is incredibly powerful. So if you just create content that's entertaining, that also solves the problem. It solves the problem of boredom, you know, but you're one of a gazillion people that creates entertaining content. Now, people are bored, but people are getting more and more and more and more stimulation, and it's causing them problems elsewhere. So if the podcast for sure does not help people make their lives better, make their lives easier, they're not going to listen to it. You know, they'll listen once or twice, but they're going to drop off at some point. So if they're going to be listening long term, what's going to be really important is that each and every single, you know, episode has takeaways in them that people can go and implement. And they're like mini wins, right? So every single time they listen, they know they're going to learn something. They can go away and implement immediately. And then as a result of that, their life is going to start getting better. That's the free stuff now.
Totally.
That's just the free content. What about the paid offer?
Yeah.
The paid offer is going to be perfectly placed now, right? Because your free stuff is that good.
That's right. Exactly. Again, it goes back to testing and seeing what and learning more about your audience and seeing what people respond to and so on. So, you know, it's definitely not something you can learn in a 6 weeks course or a 5-day challenge or whatever other gimmick you're being pitched to. And by the way, you know, speaking of like gimmicks, like I deliberately in my business, because I'm a little bit anti-guru, you could say, you know, I actually have no high ticket coaching in my business or courses. I refuse to have any high ticket stuff like that. And I make good money with low ticket stuff and that's it, right? I've got good subscription business and it works great. And to me, that's just a great way for me to also be able to be authentic because I'm not just like telling people like, don't pay for a $3,000 course. Like I legitimately don't even sell one, right? So there's other people who maybe say, don't buy this, but then buy mine. You know what I mean? It's a little bit like, it's just a marketing tactic to bash.
Yeah,
it's sleazy. It's like, well, hang on.
Cringe.
You know?
Yeah.
So I legitimately I don't even have a high ticket course or a coaching program to sell if I wanted to. I just don't have one. I refuse to have one.
Which comes back to doing it your way. So
that's right.
I think if that's anything that I've learned over, 6 years, is that you can do whatever everyone else tells you to do, and you're probably not going to get the same results that they're going to get because they're themselves and you are you, and you need to adjust it to suit who you are, how you like to work, what your preferences are, you know, what your business model is. Like I remember I paid for a very, you know, humongous mastermind thingy, and it was totally useless to me at the end of the day. Like they weren't serving my type of business model. They just encouraged me to drop my type of business model because other ones are way more profitable. So you should go where the money is. And I'm like, well, actually, I think people will pay me a lot more when I do things that I have fun with. And like, for example, I don't offer one-to-one coaching. I do not wish to see you every single week at a fixed time to talk about something that may not be relevant to you that day or that you would have needed help with 3 days ago. I find that like inefficient. So I don't want to do that. In the same way as you're saying, hey, I don't think you need to do high ticket coaching and I don't offer it. I don't want to see people one-to-one at a fixed time every single week seems like the most inflexible thing under the sun that I could be offering to help people, If you're working on something with your podcast now and you need help now, you should be able to get hold of me now, not next week, Tuesday at 4 p.m. because that's the time that we've got conveniently booked. So doing what you want to do, I think, is going to be the thing that brings you the biggest success long-term, because it remains sustainable and you will continue to enjoy doing it for a very long period of time.
Totally.
What are some of your wishes and goals for the future? Something that you're working towards?
Yeah. My personal goals are more channeled toward how can I reach more people? Basically, that's kind of my thing. So like, I'd love to reach millions of people. That's what I'd love to do, because I know they make money online industry, in the online marketing industry and all that. The market is there for that. There is plenty of people who are looking to start an online business, have a side hustle, and that's only going to grow, right? So I have no doubt that the market is there, but I would love to be able to serve a lot of people with my membership, with my information products, and do it in a way where, as beginners, they don't need to resort to any high ticket coaching or high ticket courses at all. Now, I'm not saying that there is no time and place for these investments, right? But if you are a beginner and you've now made your first $10,000 and you want to take that and invest $5,000 or $7,000 in a high ticket thing because you've now made that money, no worries. I won't stop you. I'm not saying don't do those things, that those things are not beneficial. There is value also in getting into circles of wealthier people. So I'm cool. You know what I mean? But when you're a beginner, there's so many things you don't know. There's so many things you haven't figured out that to go in and invest in somebody that's going to lead you a specific path that may or may not be the right thing for you. And there's no way for you to even know if it's the right thing for you. You can't even evaluate if it is the right investment or not. It's not even that their marketing is wrong or whatever. There is no way. There's no chance of you even knowing, because you know so little as a beginner. So little, right? And, you have to take your ego out of it as a beginner. You're clueless. You are freaking clueless. And I didn't realize how clueless I was until 2 years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I was like, I don't know anything. Like, I'll tell you what was the biggest thing for me when I realized a year and a half later when the company was shut down. I was like, I didn't realize that in this entire year and a half, I did not learn how to find my own customers. I had no idea how to get customers, because they were feeding me the customers. You see, I was paying them. They were giving me the customers. And I realized a year and a half later, I have absolutely no system to finding customers. No idea. So for me, that was huge. And that's one of the things I focus on when I teach people, is how to find customers without paying for advertising on Facebook specifically. I do specifically Facebook because that's where I found success. We're talking about the ROI. I was like, Instagram, waste of time. Facebook, no problem. I can go on Facebook today and get a client. Give me 3 hours, I'll have a new client. Like, it's really simple for me, right? But I figured out the process, right? And to me, that was really important to figure out. And that's really what I focused on. If you're not going to focus on finding customers, what the hell are you focusing on? It's a business.
Yeah, it is a business. And I know there's always people listening who only have the podcast, but they do want to monetize it. And then they always go, oh yeah, I don't have a business. No, your podcast is the business. Whether you're going to monetize it through affiliate revenue, through, setting up a membership of sorts, or running something through Patreon, or, selling merchandise, whatever the heck it is that you're going to be getting the money for.
Yeah.
The podcast now is the business. And that's how you need to see it. And that's how you need to treat it, because otherwise it isn't going to grow. And that's something you need to realize. If you play it, it's my little hobby thing that I'm doing, and I don't tell anyone about it because, it's just this small little thing, then it will be that small little thing.
Totally.
But if you take it seriously and you grab it and you push, you will go places.
Totally. And then there's another perspective to that for podcasters specifically, and it's very similar to YouTube podcast. Your product and service, when your business is strictly podcast, is people's attention. You are selling them on why they should give you their attention. So you're still finding customers, right? So the question would be more about, okay, how do you, number one, get people to continue to listen to you? How do you get new people to listen to you for the first time? And if you can figure out a way also where people who listen to you once, you can gain feedback from them on why wouldn't they listen the second time. Again, that's the skill you need to figure out in your podcast. Like you can even say in the end of the podcast, by the way, if you are the first time listener for this podcast, I'll actually give you a $10 gift card just for hopping on a Zoom call with me to let me know your feedback about this podcast and let me know your thoughts, right? And actually getting on Zoom with them, there'll be a creative way to try and learn from those first listeners. What did they like about it? What didn't you like about it? Would they listen to it again, right? And just build that relationship with them as an example. And then the other thing is the client acquisition for podcasts will be, okay, great. You have an ideal listener. Who is your ideal listener? Who are they listening to already? How can you get in front of them somewhere else? So your selling might not be the listener. It might be another podcaster you want to collaborate with, or another YouTube channel you want to collaborate with, or another Instagram influencer or whatever. Finding a customer, still that principle is still there. Even if your business is strictly podcasting, there's still a client acquisition mindset that you need to really focus on.
Yep, I 100% agree. And the earlier you can do that, the better, because you're looking at everything through a completely different lens once you're saying, right, okay, so right now I have this going on. I have this many people listening. I want to get there. How am I going to do that? How do other people do that? Is there anything that I can pick up? Like I always have, pieces of paper around, because you never know when you're going to have a little random idea and you're like, okay, right. Like now Black Friday is coming up and it surprises people just like Christmas does, right? So the people who are very well organized have been working on Black Friday for the last 4 weeks. The people who are not are going to get to 5 days before Black Friday and be like, oh yeah, maybe I should have put something together if I was going to leverage that. So you can debate whether or not you do or don't want to, but this kind of stuff you need to be a little bit more aware of. You may have to prepare stuff ahead of time. Like I'm taking part in Lizzie's Christmas party. So we are submitting some of our products to her goodie bags and stuff, but I had to apply for that like 2 weeks ago, and I have to prepare all the tech now, and I have to get it all ready in the next 2 weeks. That's for Christmas. So if you want to collaborate with people and you want to leverage other people's audiences, start brainstorming now for special occasions where people might be doing something that you can then leverage. Maybe they're having a special offer that you can jump into a bundle. Maybe, they're having a summit that you can take part in. All of this stuff is great, but you need to sometimes plan it a little bit ahead of time. And I think when you treat it as a business, that's when you start thinking, right, what am I going to be doing this month? What am I going to be looking at doing the following month or the month after that? If you're just winging it every single day, that's about as many results as you might get.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Exactly.
Awesome. We've, of course, gone slightly over our time that we'd booked, like I do with everybody.
No, that's all right. I don't mind.
I will totally go and extend it in the future. Do you want to share a little bit about where people can find out more about you, particularly maybe also your membership? I think I saw that you were letting people in at the moment. I think I saw a post on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm about to open the doors for that. This is so funny because I did that post which you saw. It was a crap post. I spent like 5 hours writing it and it was terrible. What I mean by terrible is the engagement was just not very good. And then it was too long. And what that was actually is it was a test on my sales page, right? So before I put out my sales page and stuff, like I want to test it. You know what I mean? So I put on this thing together and I did it as a post to see what the engagement and now instead of investing time into writing the sales page, I'm like, okay, great. That post was crap. Let me rewrite a different post, do it differently, do it shorter, figure something out, And again, it goes back to testing. So even now I always test, right? Always. So anyway, I think that's just an important point to also share of it. Even now, like I live off passive income now. Like I can work an hour a day and I'm good. Like I've already made my money for the month before I even start the day. I'm in a good place. But even now, I still test. I still mess things up. There's still that learning curve and constant hunger to figure things out, right? So I think that's a really important point as well.
It's curiosity,
Yeah,
like
totally.
I'm curious. Like I'm nosy AF. Like I want to know what's going to happen. Like I'm going to try that. I'm going to see what's going to happen. And sometimes nothing happens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that bloody didn't work. I'm like, yeah, great. Like we're doing a giveaway for Halloween. And so far, absolutely 0 people caring about the giveaway. So I'm like, that's cool. Like, we're testing this for the first time. I've never done it before. We're also doing it on Instagram, which is also not my favorite platform, but I've been having fun these last 3 months testing Instagram because I'm like, so many people swear by Instagram. Why? I love Facebook. Why can I not figure out Instagram? Like, it's not possible, right? So even I'm like, right, put some of this in. Nope, that didn't work. Okay, add some of this spice over here. No, that's also not working. So I always watch Tesla Björn's video, and he always says, ABC, always be charging. I feel like for us, it's ABT, always be testing. It's like every single time. So I walk around and I'm like, right? We're doing so an ABT. Like, I'm just putting this out there. Like, it didn't work.
I'm gonna use that ABT.
I always just laugh because it comes up in every one of his videos. So anyone watches Tesla videos, I'm like, yep, great. We're like, always be charging. I'm like, no, always be testing.
Yeah. I love that. In terms of how to find me, people could just Google my name, eranbucai.com or Eran Bucai. Just Google my name. There's a bunch of stuff on me, YouTube videos and website. Probably the best, most valuable way you can find me is go to my Facebook group. It's .com truthsgroup.com. I think I got it behind me, actually. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I can see that. I'll drop it all in the show notes as well. I'm also in the Facebook group, so I'll put them in.
That's the best way. When people come to join, I ask a couple of questions, a little bit about who you are, your email address, so I can send you some goodies. And if anybody invited you as well, I'd love to know. I have an automation set up where if you answer the 3 questions, you get approved within the hour. You get then sent a free course as well, a mini course, how to start an online business, which takes you through all the foundations of what I did to start an online business. I'm not holding back on what I did. Like, it's a very simple process and it's applicable to pretty much anybody online. It's very generic, particularly coaches, consultants, freelancers, not really for physical products, not really for network marketers, but pretty much anything service-based. That is absolutely what it's for primarily. So, podcasters, YouTubers, that will benefit from all of that stuff. And you'll get given that free course. And then I also then send a personal welcome on Messenger as well. So you'll actually get a message from me personally. I don't have a VA do it for me. I actually just send a message myself. So that's the best way to connect to me is just go to the Facebook group, fill in the details. You'll get my initial email welcome, and then I'll also send you a personal messenger at some point.
Cool. Sounds good. I'll drop the links to the group and stuff in the show notes, and also so many useful YouTube videos that I've come across. So good job on putting all of those up. I remember when I got started online, I think tech is like a thing that also confuses like a decent amount of people. I get very like, do I need
That's
this?
my main focus.
How does this work? And I don't know, so long I've been doing this. And
that's my main focus is the software. The software is holding people back on their online presence, the website, what email software to use, what website to use, how to set it up, how to connect the pieces, how to create a lead generation. Like if you're having a podcast, you need to have a freebie. You need to give some people free so you can build an email list. So when you publish the podcast, you can email an update. So anyone that has an online business needs that basic stuff set up. That's what I do well with. And I love doing that with people basically. So
yeah. And I think that's really important. That's when you'll miss the boat if the basics are missing. And sadly, that's something that I found in the beginning. Like I was going after the bells and whistles and not the solid basics that are needed. And then when I couldn't work, I was like, oh, shoot. Like now everything was hanging on this one thread and I can't earn any money like this. Great. Like luckily I didn't do any of the things I should have been doing, but I did, write a blog every week, which then didn't help with anything else, but I'm like, good stuff. So yeah, I'm all for the basics. Awesome. Anything else that you would like to share that you can think of that you think might be important?
I think definitely getting obsessed with what you're doing. If you're going to do this online game, because this is an entrepreneurship game, right? If you're not going to do something that you can get obsessed with, you're not going to win the game anyway. Don't try and jump into the game because someone else is doing it. Do it because you can get obsessed with it. So like building websites and lead generation funnels and all that stuff. Like I don't have any background in any of this. This is not something that I'm intuitively like techie. Like I didn't even have social media 4 years ago. I'm not naturally techie. I don't have the background for any of that stuff, but I found a problem in the market, which is the tech side, right? That's what I focus on. And I got really freaking obsessed with it, right? So figure out what it is you can get really obsessed with. And I mean it in the most nice, in a good way, not obsession like a negative thing, but think of your favorite TV show that you're binge watching for, you can't stop watching because you're so obsessed with it. You know what I mean? You need to be like that with your business. Whether it's your podcast on its own or your business, you got to figure that out. And if you're not sure, try a bunch of stuff and figure out and find the one that you can get obsessed with. Because if you don't, at some point you'll burn out, or you'll lose interest, or you'll hate it, or the competition will overtake you because you're just not committed, right? And it's difficult to be committed if you're not enjoying it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's really important. It's not to say that it's not a follow your passion advice. That's not the point. Because, I'm not passionate about technology. I'm passionate about helping people. Okay. So I found a way to help people through technology. So my passion is helping people, but helping people can be very generic. It could also be very charitable. I've worked in charity for 14 years of my life, made zero money. That's not a profitable way to run your life, right? Or that's not a sustainable way to run your life when you're making no money. So that's not my point. It's chasing your passion is not necessarily the way to have that, but getting obsessed with something that can facilitate that passion, that I think is a great way to go about it.
Thanks for sharing that. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with me today. I really, 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 really appreciate it. And I think everyone that's new to the online world and that doesn't really, know much about where to get started with marketing and that's afraid of the tech is definitely in the right place with you. So if you feel like, do I need the website? What's this email freebie thing? Definitely reach out if you need any help. And this kind of stuff, you can set it up in no time if you just have the right instruction. And I think that's totally worthwhile.
A day or two at the most, weekend. I don't need more than a weekend. It's a simple.
Once you know, that's the thing. It seems this big scary thing. And once you know, you're like, oh, this was actually way more simple than I thought it would be. And then it's like, oh yeah, but you make it bigger, and you make it scarier. So when you have some instructions, it makes it, feel achievable, and then it doesn't become so bad. So definitely I would recommend for everyone to reach out if you're stuck with anything so that you can get the help that you need.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Then thanks again for taking the time today. And I can't wait to be sharing the episode with everybody. And also,
I appreciate it.
For now.
See ya.
Alrighty, that's it from me for this week's episode. Do stop by in Eran's group as well as on his YouTube channel where he is sharing tons of valuable tips all the time. The links are in the show notes. We've also had so many new subscribers join our email list following the bundle that we took part in for Lizzie's Christmas party. And I have had quite a few people emailing me that are wanting to launch their podcasts in January and February. And I don't really have a way to help them beyond sharing, tips on this platform. So we've decided to set up our own group, which is open to everyone, not just, people that are launching, but even if your show's already been around for a while, but you're looking for connection with other podcasters, then you can find our group on Facebook. It's called Podcasting for Experts. So if you type that into the search, then I'm pretty sure Facebook will find it for you in no time. We would love to see you in there. We have very few, rules. I'm not really one for rules. Everyone just use your brains kind of thing. The only thing that we don't really do is promo in the sense of, hey, listen to my show, because most people are generally not interested in your niche topic. It's a pointless group to do that in. Otherwise, you're welcome to ask your questions, bring your problems, bring your wins. It's a normal group for normal people to connect and brainstorm together. And I really want to build this kind of more solution-oriented, brainstormy sort of environment for us to talk together about all things podcasting. So Podcasting for Experts, type that in the search and you'll find it. If you have a topic that you'd love to see discussed on the show or you'd like to record an interview together, then do reach out to me anytime. You will also find our email address in the show notes. And as always, I hope you have an amazing day and I'll see you for the next one. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you. If you're ready to step out of overwhelm, then don't forget to check out the podcast workflow blueprint at pristinepodcast.com/blueprint. The link is also in the show notes.